Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like the whole world was against you? Well, today, I'm going to tell you a story about a woman who faced just that, but with a twist you won't see coming. It all started on the first day of a grueling wilderness survival course. 20 hopeful participants stood in a line. Home, waiting for the head instructor, a tough ex-military guy named Sergeant Stone, to hand out their essential gear. One by one, he gave each person a standard-issue survival knife. But when he got to Sarah, a quiet but determined woman at the end of the line, he paused. He rummaged in his bag and pulled out something different. It was a knife, but the blade was noticeably bent, almost like a boomerang. He tossed it to her with a smirk and just said, "Let's see what you've got." The other participants snickered. A bent knife? How was she supposed to build a shelter, prepare food, or defend herself with that? For a moment, Sarah's heart sank. She felt singled out, set up to fail. But then, a fire lit up inside her. She looked at the bent knife, then back at the instructor, and a small, determined smile formed on her lips. This wasn't just a challenge. It was a test of her spirit. The first task was to build a waterproof shelter. While others easily chopped down saplings with their straight blades, Sarah struggled. She couldn't get a clean cut. Frustration started to creep in. She sat down, took a deep breath, and really looked at her tool. The bend wasn't a flaw, it was a feature. She realized the curve was perfect for stripping bark from fallen logs. Instead of cutting down fresh trees, she used the bent blade to peel long, wide strips of bark, which she then wove together over a frame of sturdy branches. Her shelter ended up looking different, almost like a hobbit house. But it was solid and completely dry inside when the first rain came. Next up, fire. The others used their straight knives to strike sparks from their ferro rods. Sarah's bent blade made that awkward. Again, she had to think differently. She noticed the curved part of the blade could be used like a small hand axe. She found a piece of dry hardwood and, using the bend, she meticulously carved a notch and a spindle for a bow drill set. It took more effort, but soon a wisp of smoke appeared, and she had a roaring fire going just as the sun began to set. Sergeant Stone walked by, glanced at her fire, then at her unique shelter, but said nothing. His expression, however, was unreadable. 2. The days that followed were a series of creative problem-solving. When they had to forage for food, her bent knife turned out to be an amazing tool for digging up edible roots and tubers, scooping them out of the earth without breaking them. When they learned to make traps, she used the curve to carve perfect notches for a figure-4 deadfall. Twiz, like the knife was made for these unconventional tasks. Her fellow participants, who had once laughed, now watched her with a mixture of confusion and admiration. The final challenge was a solo navigation test. Each person had to find their way to a designated extraction point, miles away, using only a map and compass. It was a race against time. The journey was tough, through dense forests and across rushing streams. At one point, Sarah came to a small cliff she needed to descend. There were vines, but she needed a secure handhold. Looking at her knife, an idea sparked. He found a crack in the rock and wedged the bent tip of her knife into it. It held firm, acting as a perfect anchor point. She used it to safely lower herself down. A move no one else could have managed with a straight blade. She was the first one to arrive at the extraction point. Exhausted but exhilarated, she sat down, clutching her bent knife. A little while later, Sergeant Stone appeared. He walked over and stood in front of her. He didn't smile, but the hard lines around his eyes seemed to soften. "I've been running this course for 15 years, he said, his voice low. "Every year, I give the bent knife to the person I think has the least chance of making it, to see if they'll quit on day one. But you didn't just survive. You thrived. You didn't see a broken tool. You saw a different tool. And you made it work. He reached out his hand. Congratulations, Sarah. You didn't just pass. You taught everyone here a lesson. Sarah's story is an incredible reminder that the obstacles in our path might just be opportunities in disguise. It's not always about having the best tools, but about having the right mindset. So next time you feel like you've been handed a bent knife, remember, Sarah, maybe, just maybe, it's the exact tool you need to come out on top. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow for more inspiring stories like this one.